Hey everyone, welcome back. So we are in the top 30 now. We're doing 30 through 21 today, which is exciting. Only two more of these videos left. Really great games now. There's only three more games I don't own on the top 30. They're split up evenly, one each 10. Also, in this 10, there are no deck building games, which is interesting. Um, and it's interesting too that as I'm getting higher up the list, there's less games I have to go upstairs to get. We keep the games that we play more often, like here in the dining room. And so a lot of these games were just down here. There's only two upstairs, I think. And just games we don't play as much. Also, this might take a little bit longer because there's one game that's going to take a while probably to talk about. So, without further ado, number 30. Number 30 is Deke Seat. Deke Seat is a very interesting game in which you're trying to tell a story with various different cards. The game is almost entirely comprised of these cards that are just like interesting art, basically. So here's that. I'm not even looking at these before I look at them. Some of these might be weird and disturbing. I love Deke Seat with six people. Works well even with five and a little more, seven, eight. We've modified our game such that the base game you can only play with six. Although there were older versions you can play with more. We've modified it such that we can play with more. And basically, you take a card, you tell a story about it. Where you put it face down so people can't see what card you're playing. Then everybody else includes a card from their hand. Um, and so then everyone else is trying to like figure out which one was the one that you told the original story about. I actually really like this card. The guy's beard turns into a river. Um, and so, yes, you have to be kind of vague in your storytelling. And when I say storytelling, you're just like giving a clue. Though we have heard someone give a full long story, Chris Haas. It was epic, but very annoying. Shout out to Chris. But anyway, that's number 30, Deke Seat. Number 29 is Ticket to Ride New York. I am considering this to be a different game than the base game Ticket to Ride. Ticket to Ride New York, I picked up recently. I played it this year for the first time. It's came out fairly recently, but this is I played it because my friend Bob picked it up at a thrift store, and it was really great. So this is the game Ticket to Ride, but much shorter. In fact, we timed it. We played a two-player game. Me and Bob did. It took 12 minutes, um, and it still is really fun and gives you like the fun of the original Ticket to Ride. But Ticket to Ride can take, if you're playing with more people, maybe an hour and a half, which is a while. Certainly shorter if everybody knows what they're doing. But yeah, great game. And I loved it so much after playing his copy that I just went out and bought myself a copy because it's also pretty cheap. It's like 15 bucks. Highly recommend Ticket to Ride New York. There's also a version called Ticket to Ride London, which is also very short. And then there's also a Ticket to Ride Amsterdam, but I hear that one's not quite as good. Haven't played either of those though. Number 28. So this one's going to take a while to talk about. So number 28. I haven't mentioned any collectible card games on the list so far. This is the only one I'll mention. Number 28 is Magic the Gathering. And I do have some cards here to show you. In fact, I think my main commander deck is in here. So this is my favorite true collectible card game. There's one later on that you could argue is a collectible card game, but it's really not. And so I originally started playing collectible card games back when Pokemon first came out. Played for a little bit and then moved on past that. There's a story there. I won't go into it. But then after Pokemon, so my friend Mark and I, who was one of my best friends when I was growing up, we got into playing Age of Empires 2, the collectible card game, which did not last very long and was a little bit much. Like the game took a long time to play, and it was very realistic to, or very much in line with the theme. Worked really well. But yeah, from there we moved on to Middle Earth: The Wizards, which is a very complicated collectible card game based on the Lord of the Rings books. And then from there we went to the Lord of the Rings, the card game, I believe, which was based on the Lord of the Rings movies, Excellent card game. And I still have a lot of my cards from all these card games, although not Age of Empires 2, I don't think. But from there, we went to Magic the Gathering. And in fact, if I pull up Google, I can tell you the very day I bought my first Magic cards because it was the release of a new set. Um, this is professional. I should pull this up ahead of time. Uh, but yeah, so October 7th, 2002, I bought my first Magic cards after playing with some of Mark's. I mean, like, this game is great. Um, I remember, like, so the set that was released was Onslaught, which was a tribal set, and so I've loved tribal ever since. I mean, most Magic players love tribal, let's be honest. Um, but yeah, I've been going back and playing Magic and then going away from Magic on and off for years. Well, for 18 years now, I guess. Um, and it's an expensive game. It doesn't have to be. There's lots of different ways to play the games. One thing is to play a commander deck. So this is one of my favorite commanders. These cards are in sleeves to protect the cards because there's probably some pricey cards in here. In fact, I should look at the price of. Every now and then I go through and look at how much various different cards cost to see if I have anything that has spiked up to like a $20 card. So like, yeah, this one wouldn't be, but like this guy, he's a rare. Maybe he's worth something now. And I've actually made a decent amount of money playing this game and winning this game. Also spent a decent amount of money. Um, and yeah, so here, let me scroll through a few more things here as I talk about it. Um, and my favorite way to play the game is what's called playing limited. Specifically, I like drafting the best. In fact, I built two different cubes just in order to be able to draft more often. Zach helped me with that. Shout out to Zach. Played this game a lot with him when I went back and worked at my alma mater. Played this game a lot with him, with Amy Alexander. Played this game a ton with Jonathan Durand. Went to various different pre-releases. In fact, like I wound up winning the pre-release for one of the sets. Well, I can't remember which set it was. And with my winnings, like I won a bunch of money in store credit, and I bought the board game Legendary. And so, like, there's definitely been some. Ooh, it's the shiny Fathom Mage. Ooh. Definitely been a lot of money. Is Gyre Sage worth anything? See, I gotta look these up, and then I can sell cards because that's the whole thing. Is that I don't want to play Magic a ton. Like, did I shout out to Jonathan Durand? I played this game a lot with Jonathan Durand too. I think I did. I don't want to play Magic a ton. It's a great game. I love playing it. It's very much a lifestyle game in that a lot of people who play Magic do not play many other games. Some of them do, but a lot of people, that's the only game they play, and they'll go to tournaments and they'll follow the professional scene because you can be a professional Magic the Gathering player, which is insane. Um, and I follow that a little bit. Like I know some of the players, but it just takes so much of your time and money to really play Magic. And my taste in gaming is to play a lot of different games. Um, so I mean, I think I'll always have at least some cards from Magic. I don't think I'm ever going to sell my entire collection. Big fan of the game itself. It's a great game. And the impact on the hobby has been amazing because it's sold millions and millions of dollars. Definitely the most profitable game ever made. Tabletop game. I'm sure there might be some some computer games or video games that made more, but like it's a phenomenon. It's really impressive, and it was the first collectible card game, and is still the best collectible card game. And yeah, impressive. Anyway, I should move on past Magic the Gathering and talk about other things. That was number 28, Magic the Gathering. Number 27 is the only game on this list that on this 10 that I don't own. It's also the highest game that I have never played a physical copy of. This is a game called Terra Mystica, which is available on Board Game Arena. Still not sponsoring me. Give me a call. Terra Mystica is fantastic. I use that word a lot, by the way. In Terra Mystica, you are playing as a unique race, and there's like 14 different races I think you can play in the base game. They all have special abilities, and their buildings might cost different things or whatnot. You are building across a map. You're spreading out across this hexagonal map. Hexagons, love them. They're the best guns. And it's an economy game. It's all about victory points. It's very difficult to play well. I don't know that I do play it well, but I mostly play this game just with Mark and Jonathan online. In fact, I think that's it. So I played some two-player games, mostly three-player games. If anybody wants to learn and play, feel free and let me know. I'd be happy to teach you as much as I can. Hard game, great game. Really love it. Has one of my favorite things, which is unique abilities for each player, like special abilities. Love that. This has it in spades. Like, great game. That's number 27, Terra Mystica. Number 26 is Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico was at the top of the Board Game Geek rankings for a long time. It has since fallen. This is a game where role selection. So on your turn, you choose a role. So maybe you're the captain and you do the captain's action, and then everybody else at the table does the same thing. I talked about Fort earlier in the list. Fort also has that. San Juan, which is based on this. Lots of other games have that, including Race for the Galaxy, which I don't like. Yeah, Puerto Rico, it's an older game. It still holds up. It's a great game. There is one thing about Puerto Rico that if you're playing with one player who's newer to the game and not as good, the player to the left of them will win. This is kind of just a known thing. And anytime a game is quote unquote broken like that, as long as you let everybody at the table know about it, it evens out a little bit. A little bit less so in this game. So I do think if you're sitting with people and you know this fact, and you know one person at the table is new to the game, sit the person who's second highest to next to the left of them. This is not usually a game you win your first time playing. It's just the way that the game works. Really fun game. Really like it. Played it a lot on Board Game Arena recently. So again, if you want to play, let me know. That is number 26, Puerto Rico. Okay, this one's going to be taking longer, isn't it? Oh, not too bad. Number 25, another game I played a lot on Board Game Arena, just 3 in a row here. This is Stone Age. Stone Age is a worker placement game, and it's Stone Age themed. Go figure. You're putting your workers out. You're doing various different actions at the various different locations, and you're gathering some resources. You're getting some kind of like culture cards, I think they're called. And you're building buildings and getting points by putting your workers in different places and feeding all of your people, your tribe. Great game, works really well on Board Game Arena because the calculations are done automatically. There's a lot in this game actually of like division. So like maybe you roll 4 dice and you have to divide the total by 5 because you put 4 guys at stone. And that can be a little tedious when you're playing in person, and so it's kind of nice to play it online. But also, if you have kids and you want to teach them quick division, good game for that, honestly. That was number 25, Stone Age. Number 24 is the highest abstract game on my list. This is Ingenious. Ingenious is by Rainer Knizia. I wonder if no, I don't think this is my highest from him. It might be. Ingenious is a game where it's all about colors, and you're playing down little hexagonal pieces. Actually, the pieces have 2 hexagons on them. And you're playing them on a board on a grid. So I can show you real quick here. So this is what a fraction of the board looks like. And so you have these tiles. You have 6 of them. You play one of them, and you have to play it like next to one of its colors, and then you get some points. There are 6 different colors you're trying to play, and at the end of the game, the person who wins is the person who has, how do I phrase this? Who has the lowest color. So you keep track of your colors here, and let's say you're high up with 5 of them, but your purple's down here. Your final score for the game is 4, is where your lowest one is. And so the strategy is very interesting because you're trying to work on the ones that you're lowest on. Although, if you get up to the top of the track with any of the colors, you get to say, ingenious. and take another turn, which obviously is good. And you do have to say it with that sort of inflection, house rule. Um, I'm not a huge fan of abstracts usually. Abstract being like a game that there's no real theme, and it doesn't even try to have a theme. Ingenious works really well though. I mean, there's a few other. I think Blockus was on the list. Certainly, I'm not opposed to abstracts. I tend to find them to be games that, unless you really know what you're doing, they're not as fun. I think this one avoids that. This one is a lot of fun, even when you're first learning. And it works well with 2, 3, and 4. It says 1 to 4. I have not tried the single player like puzzles and like doing it yourself to see what sort of high score you can get. Don't think I would want to. But great game. Several different printings of it. Very popular. That's Ingenious. Number 23. It's a fairly new game. Tiny Towns. Actually met the designer of this game at PAX Unplugged. He's like, hey, do you want to learn how to play my game? And I was like, I'm sorry, we just put our name in over there. We got to go play over there. And then never came back to play it, which is a shame because it turns out I love this game. Got it after that, actually. I think I got this for Christmas or something. Shout out if somebody got this for me for Christmas. This game works well for 1 to 6 players. In some ways, it's a bit of a takeoff on Bingo. Not really, but the thing is that you have this little grid and you're trying to build a tiny town on this little grid. So here's what your grid looks like. And to do that, you need resources. On your turn, you choose a resource, but then everybody has to put that resource down. So it starts clogging up the board. This game is stressful in a good way. Like, oh boy, it's a real brain burner, but you just have your little 4x4 grid. So it's very self-contained. There's not too many rules, but it's so deep. Like, and when I mean deep, like the amount of impact that your decision making has is very high, even though the complexity is fairly low. Yeah, big fan. That's Tiny Towns, number 23. Number 22 is a game called Naom, or Naom if you prefer. All in caps as well, and it says "Create the City of Tomorrow," which reminds me of the sign in the Pittsburgh airport that says "Yesterday's Airport of Tomorrow," which I always find to be hysterically funny. Yeah. And this game is a combination of a tile laying game and Seven Wonders. So it's a drafting game and a tile laying game. You're building a city, the city of tomorrow. You're building a city, you're getting resources, but you're putting these tiles down because you have to have the roads that go to the middle of your board, to the center of your town. So there's a fair amount of complexity here. This is, for people who like Seven Wonders, this is the evolution of Seven Wonders. It's a drafting game, a lot of complexity, very fun, but certainly not something I would use with people who are not a fan of Seven Wonders or not a fan of tile laying games. And I would not use this with newer players too. The complexity level is high, maybe higher than it needs to be, but it works really well. That is number 22. Neo. And finally for this list, and just missing the top 20, Suburbia. So Suburbia is a very well respected game. And in this game, you are similar to Naom, you're building a city, but in this game, you're drafting these hexagonal tiles, which obviously hexagons are the best hexagons. Maybe I should link to that video so everybody knows what I'm talking about. Link in the description for hexagons are the best hexagons. And in this game, you're playing these tiles down, you're buying them from the middle, and you are creating this town. You want to get higher culture to attract more population. The most population at the end of the game wins. So it's like popularity or culture or something like that. But you also want to have income so you can get money, so you can buy better buildings, so you can buy things that give you a lot more points. It's very much an economic game where you're trying to manage the two economies of the money and the popularity in order to attract people to your town and get more money. to buy better buildings. This game is really excellent. It's certainly not something, again, this is a more complex game. I would not necessarily teach this to people who are new to the hobby, unless they're really looking for something to sink their teeth into. This is the precursor to another game that I really love called Castles of Beck and Ludwig. Um, and I think this one might be like a better game in some ways. Um, really close, really tough to tell. That might be a spoiler. But yeah, big fan. That's Suburbia number 21. And we're done. Only two more of these left. I do think this was the longest one, probably because I went on a rant about Magic the Gathering, which does deserve rants. It's a great game, but also has its issues. Yeah, so thanks for watching, and that'll be it for today.